They said Lagos was a city of dreams, a place where the poor could rise overnight and where fortunes were made in silence. For Chinelo, a beautiful young woman from Enugu, Lagos was not just a city, it was hope. She came with nothing but determination, and when fate brought Chief Oba into her life, it felt like God had finally smiled on her. Chief Oba was everything a woman could want. A wealthy businessman in his 50s, powerful, respected, and dripping in charm. He dressed in agbadas of purest white, rode in convoys of black jeeps, and spoke with the calm assurance of a man who controlled his world. To Chinelo, who had tasted hardship all her life, he was heaven sent. He courted her with an intensity that made her blush. Flowers at her workplace, gold jewelry delivered in velvet boxes, and dinners in the kind of restaurants she only saw in magazines. Her friends envied her, her family sang praises. And when Chief Oba asked for her hand in marriage, she said yes without hesitation. Their wedding was the talk of the town, a grand celebration where money flowed like water, where politicians and celebrities toasted their love. Chinelo thought she had entered paradise. But paradise has doors that should never be opened. On the first night in the mansion, Chief Oba took her hand and guided her through the long corridors of his home. "Every room is yours," he said with a warm smile. "Except one." He pointed to the door at the far end of the hallway, an ancient wooden frame bound with a heavy lock. "That room," he whispered, "is forbidden. You must never try to enter it." Chinelo nodded, dismissing it as one of his eccentricities. But in the nights that followed, unease began to creep in. Every Friday at midnight, Chief Oba would leave the mansion dressed in white, carrying a small leather bag. He would return hours later, smelling faintly of incense and iron, like blood. One by one, the household staff began to disappear. A cook left suddenly, claiming his mother was sick. A maid packed her things in the dead of night, whispering to Chinelo, "Madam, be careful. This house is not what it seems." Chinelo laughed nervously, brushing it off as superstition. Yet, the unease only grew. Her dreams turned strange. She saw faceless women in her sleep, standing in circles, their mouths moving silently, their eyes wide and empty. They would reach out to her, their fingers cold, before she woke drenched in sweat. And always, her gaze returned to that locked door. One stormy night, thunder rolling over the mansion, Chief Oba was away. Chinelo wandered the halls, restless. The rain lashed against the windows, and the wind howled like voices in mourning. Something pulled her toward the forbidden door. She touched the handle. To her shock, the key was already in the lock, as if inviting her. Her hands trembled, but curiosity won. Slowly, she turned the key. The door creaked open. The stench hit her first, rot, blood, and something older, darker. Inside, the walls were covered with chalk symbols and red stains that could only be blood. Candles had melted into grotesque shapes on the floor. In the center of the room sat a wooden stool, beside it a calabash filled with what looked like bones. Human bones. Her heart thundered as her eyes darted around. That was when she saw them, photographs pinned to the wall. Women, young and beautiful, smiling in wedding gowns. Some looked frightened, some looked eerily familiar. And then, her breath caught. One of the photographs was hers. She stumbled back, knocking over the calabash. It rolled across the floor with a hollow sound that echoed unnaturally, as though the house itself groaned. She fled the room, slamming the door behind her, chest heaving, sweat dripping down her spine. By the time Chief Oba returned, she was waiting in the living room, her face pale, her hands shaking. He entered calmly, his eyes scanning her. He smiled, but it was not the smile of the man she married. It was colder, sharper. "You opened it," he said softly. Chinelo's lips trembled. "What is this, Chief? What is in that room? Who are those women?" He walked toward her slowly, his shadow stretching across the floor. They were my wives, Chinelo. Each one chosen, each one given. His voice was calm, too calm. Wealth does not come freely in this world. Every mansion, every car, every contract, I paid for them with blood. Her knees went weak. No, no, this can't be true. He smiled, reaching out to touch her face, but she flinched. You were never my wife, he whispered. You are my final sacrifice. Her scream tore through the house, but the guards outside did not move. They were loyal not to her, but to him. She ran, darting through the corridors, trying doors, but everyone was bolted shut. The mansion had become a cage. At midnight, the power flickered. The lights dimmed, then glowed a sickly yellow. Outside, the wind rose violently, rattling the windows until they seemed ready to shatter. Shadows moved across the compound, tall figures with torches, their faces hidden by carved masks. Her phone was in her hand before she realized it. She dialed her sister's number, whispering, "Help me, please, help me." But the line crackled, then went dead. The doors burst open. Two men dragged her down the corridor as she kicked and screamed. Chief Oba followed behind, calm, majestic in his white agbada. They carried her back into the forbidden room, the one she wished she had never opened. The candles were lit now, casting long, trembling shadows on the walls. She struggled, but the hands that held her were strong. The masked men surrounded her, their breathing harsh, their torches spitting sparks. Chief Oba raised his hands, and the room fell silent. For every fortune, he intoned, his eyes gleaming, a soul must fall. Chinelo screamed until her voice broke. The wind howled through the mansion, rattling every door, then stopped. Silence swallowed the night. And in that silence, Lagos slept, unaware that another soul had been swallowed to keep a man's wealth alive.